Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see, but few can feel. Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are. Niccolò Machiavelli. Power speaks in silence. The most dangerous figure in any arena is not the one raising his voice. It is the one who needs no sound to command attention. While lesser minds chase respect through noise and spectacle, the true master lets absence do the talking. He enters and reality bends around him. Look closely. That figure in the meeting, who barely speaks yet draws every eye. The presence at gatherings who offers no boasts, no performances, yet commands the room without effort. What you witness is not merely confidence. It runs deeper. It is complete control, not of others, but of self. In an age obsessed with visibility, constant validation, and reactive existence, the most formidable force remains the man who refuses participation. His restraint, his calculated calm, his perfect unreadability. These qualities disturb those who cannot achieve them. You cannot provoke him. You cannot interpret him. You cannot destabilize him. This makes him lethal. He seeks no approval. He stages no performance. He calculates. He observes. When he finally executes, it is never to impress. It is to win. This is not arrogance, but mastery. Mastery of presence, of emotion, and, most critically, of perception. In the cacophony of modern life, the man who moves in silence becomes an unsettling anomaly. Nothing commands more fear and respect than that which cannot be understood. Violence screams, intelligence whispers. This is the first principle the strategist understands. It is the truth that escapes most men today. In every domain, commerce, politics, combat, relationships, those who bark loudest reveal themselves as weakest. They mistake volume for dominance. They believe that aggression, outbursts, and attention-seeking demonstrate their power. They are wrong. These displays expose their desperation. True strength conceals its hand. It broadcasts no intentions. It responds to no petty challenge, no insult, no threat, because the genuine player, the one who determines outcomes, recognizes that victory has nothing to do with noise. It belongs to those who think 3 moves ahead, while others react to the immediate. Even in the brutal landscape of Renaissance Italy, where power transferred through bloodshed and betrayal, Machiavelli noted that kingdoms fall not to brute force, but to strategic minds. A lion may terrorize momentarily. The fox survives and conquers through patience. The fox wins the game. The lion is too emotional, too proud, too impulsive to comprehend. Most men stumble into the same trap today. They believe masculinity means immediate response, answering every slight, proving themselves repeatedly, demonstrating value incessantly. They fail to understand. When you react, you surrender the map of your psychology. You reveal your vulnerabilities, your triggers, your fears. Nietzsche understood this when he wrote of the will to power as self-mastery rather than domination. The truly powerful man is not the one who controls others, but the one who has achieved perfect dominion over his own impulses, his own emotions, his own ego. Such a man needs no external validation. He has transcended the desperate hunger for approval that drives lesser beings into constant, revealing displays of insecurity. The strategist plays a different game entirely. He allows others to expose themselves through their noise. He listens while they self-destruct. He waits while they exhaust their resources, seeking validation. Every outburst, every insult, every dramatic display of force, all of it is merely data. It tells the silent observer exactly where to strike, if striking becomes necessary at all. In confrontation, the loud aggressor captures attention. The silent strategist secures victory. In negotiation, the emotional participant feels momentary satisfaction. The composed observer discerns patterns, waits for the precise moment, and walks away with everything. In relationships, the desperate seeker of validation receives precisely none. The self-contained man who refuses to chase attracts respect naturally. Emotional reactions follow predictable patterns. The predictable opponent is already defeated, but the calm, unreadable, focused man becomes terrifying because he represents the variable no one can calculate. This is why the master advised rulers, you must be feared and respected, but never so transparent that others can anticipate your actions. You do not triumph through outbursts. You prevail by becoming the question that haunts their minds long after silence falls. When you remain unreadable, when you move without telegraph, when you control your emotions like a blade held at your own throat, you become impervious to provocation, manipulation, and defeat. This is not merely strategy. In a world of noise and hysteria, it is survival. In any conflict, truth is secondary. Perception dominates. This harsh lesson eludes most men their entire lives. Reality matters less than appearance. Right matters less than strength. Control how others see you, and you control how they respond to you. The master strategist understood this centuries before our time. He wasted no energy trying to be loved. He spent no resources explaining himself. He shaped others' perception of him methodically, ruthlessly, silently, because perception is where victory is first secured. The man who wins that invisible battle rarely needs to fight another. Consider the immediate judgments made when you enter any space. Others decide instantly. Are you dangerous or harmless? Weak or formidable? Someone to challenge or someone to respect? 90% of this assessment has nothing to do with your words. It stems from your physical bearing, the energy you project, the composure you maintain when everyone else reacts. Foucault recognized this when he analyzed how power operates, not through direct force, but through surveillance and perception. The man who understands he is being watched and who can manipulate that perception has already gained the upper hand. He turns observation itself into a weapon, letting others see only what serves his purpose while remaining opaque to their scrutiny. The human mind abhors unanswered questions. It craves predictability. It seeks comfort in the known. When you provide no obvious signals, when you master your expressions, your posture, your reactions, you become unreadable. The unreadable man is the most dangerous element in any room. Others cannot predict your response. They cannot access your thoughts. They cannot determine if you plan retaliation or simply observe their self-destruction. In that silence, you dominate without movement. This is not artificial toughness. It is not purposeless coldness. It is the understanding that exposure equals vulnerability, and those who reveal too much inevitably lose what matters most. As the strategist noted, men judge generally more by sight than touch, because everyone can see you, but few can touch you. Translation: your inner reality matters less than external perception. Appear powerful, even when doubt consumes you. Appear calm, even when rage threatens to overwhelm. Appear collected when everything collapses. When others perceive strength, they hesitate. Hesitation is the first crack in their armor. Control the image. Control the outcome. Master your silence. Master your appearance. Let them project their fears onto your blank canvas. Once you become the man they cannot read, you become the man they cannot defeat. Power often hides behind apparent weakness. In a world fixated on displays of dominance, one tactic cuts deeper than any show of force: feigned vulnerability. Play the fool, project fragility. Let them believe you broken. When an enemy underestimates you, they expose themselves. That exposure becomes your weapon. The wise appear weak when strong, and strong when weak. The predictable man who displays his strength prematurely invites caution from opponents. But the man who limps, who apologizes, who retreats from challenges, he invites arrogance. Arrogance blinds. It creates openings no direct confrontation could achieve. Modern men suffer addiction to posturing. They believe volume correlates with respect. They hunt validation like oxygen. They compulsively prove themselves in every room, every exchange, every glance. The true player knows better. Real power comes not from demanding recognition, but from controlling perception. Feigned weakness creates perfect misdirection. When enemies believe you harmless, they grow careless. They reveal strategies they would otherwise protect. They commit errors they would never make if properly vigilant. You need not break down their defenses. They dismantle them willingly before you. When timing aligns, you strike cleanly, precisely, without warning. This is not cowardice, but weaponized patience. It represents psychological warfare in its purest form. When people believe victory assured, they abandon defense. When they dismiss you as non-threatening, they cease calculation. This creates advantage they cannot recover from. In the realm of power, invisibility surpasses intimidation in lethality. When you seem defeated, no one anticipates your advance. When you appear fragile, no one prepares for your resilience. When you finally execute, counteraction comes too late. History's greatest generals never charged headlong into fortified positions. They waited, they deceived, they lured. Elite negotiators never reveal their strongest cards. They let opponents overplay theirs. These principles apply universally in business, relationships, competition, conflict. Carl Jung, in analyzing the shadow self, understood that what remains hidden often holds the greatest power. Those parts of ourselves we conceal, or that others fail to perceive, become the source of our most potent capabilities. The strategic use of the shadow involves selectively revealing aspects of yourself while keeping your true capacity in darkness until the perfect moment of deployment. Strength alone guarantees nothing. You must remain invisible until necessity demands otherwise, forgettable until too late, overlooked until undeniable. The man who appears harmless while methodically accumulating power creates the opponent no one can adequately defend against. By the time they recognize the threat, the conclusion is foregone. Half measures win nothing. They ensure vengeance. When confronting an adversary, in commerce, relationships, or life's countless battlefields, one law demands respect. If you strike, strike decisively, not partially, not politely, completely. The wounded enemy poses greater danger than the defeated one. Pain creates obsession. Obsession fuels retaliation. When you damage someone but leave them with dignity, with hope, with resources, they do not merely recover. They evolve. They transform your lesson into their weapon. They return sharper, more focused, exponentially more dangerous than before. You want no enemy who dreams of you at night, plotting revenge. You want an enemy with neither strength nor will to attempt it. Victory extends beyond winning the immediate conflict. It requires eliminating the possibility of future threats. In contemporary terms, This means severing influence, closing pathways, removing options, allies, and resources until no viable route remains. Do not allow retreat with dignity intact. Do not permit reputation salvage. Make defeat so absolute, so final, that contemplating renewed challenge becomes unthinkable. Power cares nothing for drama. It demands conclusion. The true victor needs no celebration, no proclamation. He acts with precision, efficiency, and permanence, then advances without backward glance. This principle manifests at every level of human competition. Mercy becomes luxury when stakes matter. If action proves necessary, execute it in a manner that concludes the narrative permanently. No exchanges, no second chances, no phoenix rising from ashes. This represents not cruelty, but self-preservation. Unfinished battles inevitably return, harder, uglier, more costly. The strategist warned, injuries should be inflicted all at once, so that their bitterness, being less prolonged, may arouse less hatred. Translation: strike once, strike completely. Never extend the process. Make the action so overwhelming that by the time they comprehend their defeat, recovery becomes impossible. After execution, silence. No apologies, no justifications, no additional rounds. Walk away, not from weakness, but because nothing remains to prove. The man who resolves conflict without leaving opposition behind doesn't merely win. He guarantees future peace. Most believe power manifests through action. True power expresses through patience. The most devastating operations never occur immediately. They follow calculated silence, after opponents have corroded from within. Time is not measurement. Time is weaponry. When properly deployed, it accomplishes what direct force cannot. When faced with disrespect, provocation, or challenge, instinct demands immediate response, counterattack, justification, proof of worth. This reaction is precisely what opponents anticipate. It exposes your position. The strategist reverses this pattern. He waits. He observes. He permits enemies to believe they've succeeded. He allows them to relax their vigilance, to grow comfortable, careless, overconfident. Throughout this process, he maintains silence. No denial, no defense. He permits rumors to circulate. He allows fear to germinate. This silence is not passivity. It represents psychological warfare at its most refined. When you refuse reaction, you create reflection, a mirror forcing adversaries to confront themselves. They begin overthinking, second-guessing, imagining what retribution might take shape, what form it might assume, when it might arrive. No explicit threat proves necessary. No action required. Their imagination becomes your most effective weapon. Humans fear uncertainty more than confirmed pain. The unknown paralyzes more effectively than any direct confrontation. Mastering silence transforms the unknown into your primary asset. They fear what remains invisible, what defies prediction, what resists control. Each day without response intensifies their anxiety. Each moment of silence amplifies their paranoia. Without any move from you, their internal decay accelerates. They lose allies through apparent instability. They commit errors operating from fear rather than calculation. They isolate themselves without you expending effort. When they reach maximum isolation, exhaustion, and fragility, you act. Not emotionally, not theatrically, surgically, because by this point, the outcome was determined long ago. They lost when fear infected their judgment. The master strategist's genius never lay in teaching force application. It resided in demonstrating how doubt destroys more thoroughly than violence. Force creates chaos. Force generates visibility. Psychological erosion operates cleanly, invisibly, irreversibly. This represents modern power's true artistry. Not confrontation through rage, but dissolution through strategic patience. You need not destroy opponents publicly. You simply allow them to disintegrate privately. Time, patience, calculated stillness. These form the arsenal of those who cannot be defeated. In an era obsessed with immediate reaction, the man who maintains composure longest, who remains unreadable longest, who allows others to collapse under their own anxiety, is the man who prevails without engaging directly. The battlefield is not the person. It is the environment. Control the environment, and you determine the outcome. Most commit the fatal error of equating power with direct confrontation. They believe victory comes through overwhelming opposition head-on. It does not. Direct engagement creates unnecessary risk, emotional exposure, and worst, it provides enemies opportunity to resist, to fight back, to rally support. The master strategist recognized the deeper game. To win cleanly, without chaos or vulnerability, you attack not the individual, but the conditions surrounding them. You isolate, you transform the terrain. No matter an opponent's personal strength, when the ground beneath them crumbles, they fall. This is environmental control at its most sophisticated. You never force compliance. You simply make survival impossible without adaptation to your terms. You demand nothing. You alter circumstances until submission becomes the only viable option. The chess master never pursues the king directly. He sets traps. He eliminates escape routes. He removes defensive pieces until the king has nowhere to move. This principle applies universally. You never attack the person directly. You target their operational capacity. You sever supply lines rather than engaging the front. The elegance of this approach lies in its invisibility. It triggers no defensive response. By the time they recognize what occurs, resolution is already determined. They stand alone. Their options are exhausted. You maintain position 3 moves ahead. Isolation doesn't merely weaken, it paralyzes. An individual surrounded by support fights with amplified determination, but one who feels abandoned, uncertain, disconnected, begins questioning fundamental assumptions, second-guessing every decision. The will to resist evaporates. Once will collapses, conflict ends automatically. The true strategist obsesses not over dominance, but positioning. You need not destroy opposition through spectacular measures. You simply construct reality where every choice, every action, every movement brings them closer to inevitable conclusion. This represents silent warfare, gradual erosion, inescapable endgame. Once complete, no celebration becomes necessary. No demonstration required. The field itself testifies to your victory. Their silence, their isolation, their irrelevance. These speak more conclusively than any declaration. Power has nothing to do with noise. It centers on control of self, of perception, of the operational environment. Most will waste their lives pursuing respect through incorrect channels. They will shout, they will fight, they will bleed for attention that holds no value. But you now grasp the deeper game, the silent game, the discipline of patience, invisibility, and positioning. True dominance emerges not through force, but through mastery of 3 elements: emotional control, timing precision, and environmental manipulation. Move when others remain reactive. Strike when others fall into their own traps. Disappear while others still celebrate battles you concluded long ago. This is not merely strategy. It is survival. It represents the only viable path in a world that ultimately rewards those who cannot be manipulated, cannot be interpreted, and cannot be cornered. The question remains: are you playing checkers while masters play chess? Are you reacting to circumstances or actively shaping the battlefield? Are you pursuing respect or commanding it without words. The time has come to abandon the predictable game, to move with purpose, precision, and perfect silence. Because in the endless noise of modern existence, the man who masters strategic silence masters everything that matters.